What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Relationship Theater. I'm your host, Cornell, and thank you so much for attending. Today, what we're going to be talking about is sowing and reaping, the parable of the sower. Right? This is not a biblical class by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's uh, an apt comparison for what we've talked about previously. We've talked about intention. And I think when you have seed, you have to intend for that seed to grow somewhere. And you can't keep dropping it on infertile ground or grounds or in situations that are going to swallow it whole, etc. And I think it's also important to note that you may fail in sowing. Um, you may fail in sowing, but when it does hit, it will grow 50, 60, 100 fold. And believe it or not, it's really interesting when you think about it. There are four different types of ground where the seed fell when the sower was sowing, and only one of those only one of those places, which is fertile or good soil or good land, only one of those was the place where the seed could actually be productive. Okay. And if you think about that, that is the 80-20 principle, Pareto's principle in a nutshell, right? It can only be productive on fertile ground. So, why is that important based upon what we've spoken about in previous talks here on the Relationship Theater? It's important because, one, you have to be intentional. You have to know what you're looking for. Intentionality means I know when my seed is being accepted. I know that my seed has been rejected. That which I'm giving, that which I bring to the table, that which is my essence or my substance that I'm giving to my partner. My partner has to receive it, right? My partner has to receive the the affirmations and the encouraging words from me on a daily basis. My partner has to receive the the hugs and the kisses and the intimacy that I'm seeking to give my partner. My partner has to receive the love that I'm hoping to share, the life that I'm hoping to give. And if that doesn't happen, and we can talk about this in the future, but if that doesn't happen, then that means that this is not fertile ground. It means that my seed, or that which I have to give, my substance, has been rejected. Nothing can grow here. At least nothing that I provide can grow here. And that is not a red flag, but your response immediately should be, I need to plant my seed somewhere where it will grow. And so, I often talk about, my life, and I can tell you that from an intentional standpoint, or from the standpoint of intention, when I met my wife, or when I was looking for a wife, I remember telling a friend of mine, my best friend, his name is Akins, and I told him, I said, there were a couple things that I wanted that were very superficial, right? But then there were some things that I knew about myself, and I knew that the perfect match for me, based upon what I knew about myself, was going to be a person that was mild mannered. Now, at the time, I was about 24 years old. I also knew that all of my relationships up to that point had gone very well. So I was like, I got to be intentional because it always goes well. And if I'm not intentional, I could end up with the wrong person, even though it goes well. I want to be deeply in love with the next person that I'm with. So I made a checklist, right? Some of the things were physical, but then there were some some mental things, some spiritual things that I felt like I needed, and I emphasized those when I was out looking. You know, those were the things that I was looking for first. I was looking at those things behind the person. Because, you know, when you're 20, everyone's beautiful. I mean, I'm talking about incredibly beautiful. You don't know it when you're 20. But when you're 20, you are absolutely fabulous. Right? You can eat as many McDonald's cheeseburgers you want and still, you might get a six-pack eating cheeseburgers. Right? You probably ran track or played some sport for about 15 years prior to you, you know, turning 25 or something like that. You've been in the gym, not even in the gym. You've been on the basketball court playing pickup. You've been active, man. And it shows in your figure. It shows in how you move. You can dance. You go out. Oh my God. It's crazy when you're 20, right? So everybody in their 20s looks good. You can't sew based on looks in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s for that matter. But you can't sew based on that. I knew that. I've seen people sew based on looks, you know, based on skin tone, complexion, hair, you know, sew. And not only did they sow the seeds of their dreams, but they sowed their, you know, some people sowed semen, you know, semen. And things didn't turn out so well for them because in their sowing, they were short-sighted. They didn't realize that their seed or their essence or that which they meant to continue in the world, that which they meant to grow and to become something more, it grew. It was sown on concrete, on asphalt, right? And all they got was a weed, and it was supposed to be a tree, right? So, but I knew this when I met my wife, and like I said, I purposefully sought one, a woman who was mild mannered. Two, a woman who was in great shape, obviously, but two was a teacher. My mother's a teacher. My mother was always there to pick us up from school. She could stay home sick. You know, she had this flexibility for children that, you know, when I thought about it, I said, man, I would love to marry a teacher. Now, that's not really a quality, right? But I ended up with a teacher, you know, which is great. And it has all the benefits that I thought it would have, obviously. But me being a self-employed gentleman, some of that burden falls on me because I do have the most flexible schedule in the household. But my wife tutors the children. It's everything I wanted, right? And so I say all of that to say that not only was I aware of the fact, which I'm trying to tell you, not only was I aware of the fact that my seed wouldn't always fall on fertile ground. I was actively seeking what I thought was fertile ground. I knew that my seed would grow here. And so when I placed it over there and it didn't grow, I knew to avoid that kind of ground. I knew to avoid that type of situation. And that's what I did. If I saw someone or I saw a field of thorns, I looked the other way. You see? And I had a checklist. And my checklist was made up of all the things, all the intangibles. They talk about this in sports, the intangibles. Because everybody can jump high, dribble well, and shoot the ball. But there are the intangibles, the leadership, the things you can't see. Right? I made a list of all the things I couldn't see. And then I figured out how to see them. And that became the fertile ground for me. So that the next time I sowed my seed, it was on fertile ground. And I tell you, to this day, jackpot. Jackpot. Right? I did not miss. You know, I didn't miss. And so the advice to you and to others, um, make sure you know what fertile ground is for you. What is it going to take for you to become a better person? And what is it going to take in your partner to make you a better person? You know, I think some of the folks that I hear talk about dating and about marriage, they have no clue. You know, washing the dishes, and you know, these are all things that, you know, don't really matter, because remember, in your vows is for sickness and for health. So someone could get sick. You gotta, it's got to be more than, um, you know, kitchen work and baking or something, whatever, you know, it's got to be more than that. This person has to be able to, it's got to be a symbiotic relationship. This person is going to involve themselves in you mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, you know, yeah, it's a partnership. We're doing it together. And you've got to come to that conclusion. Um, I think a lot of women understand this. Some women are focused a little bit too much on how much money someone is making. Not to say that it is important, isn't important, but is it primary? And that goes back to the intentions we talked about in a previous video. Is it primary? Is it the primary intention? Because the primary intention is going to dictate where you sow your seed. And if that is the primary intention, you could sow your seed in a place that is not maximally productive for love, for longevity, for children, for all types of things you can miss out on. Right? So just wanted to leave you all with that. Hopefully this message was, you know, helpful and it touched you. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.